Hey, welcome to Adam Pinz's Garage and Fabrication, and today we're working on the 82 Honda V45 Magna. Yeah, this is going to be my first motorcycle video, and yes, I work on everything. It doesn't matter what it is. So, what we've got here is, see, this looks like an oil filter adapter, but what this really is a modification. You put this behind your oil filter and this redirects oil to the camshafts. So this bike has a V4, a Honda V4 750cc, and their problem with those is that they don't get enough oil to the camshafts under 3,000 RPM, and they tend to eat the camshafts. And it's more prevalent in hotter states where the engine reaches higher temperatures, and more so on the back two cylinders where it doesn't get as much airflow. So this I got off eBay from V4 Man, and this eliminates that oiling issue. It pulls oil directly from where the filter is and creates good pressure, and he's done a lot of research into, making sure it's the right size, feed, and all of that to make sure it actually supplies enough oil pressure to the camshafts. But this being really nice, only issue is, if you can see in there, we got some little burrs. So I got this cheap Harbor Freight little Dremel guy with a stone, and I'm going to clean the burrs out of there because you don't want those little pieces to snap off and end up in your oiling system. Other than that, it's a really nice kit. It's got double O-rings where it goes onto your filter plate, and a really nice flange for where your oil filter bolts on top of it. Comes with everything you need. Just got rubber hoses with it. I might upgrade it to some like stainless steel hard lines later on, but really all you need is the rubber hose to get started. So I'll put those on there, and I'll fasten down with probably zip ties for now, and that'll keep my bike running for a lot longer. So this bike has survived as long as it has because it is from upstate New York and just gets run in the summer. I mean, they put them away for the winter, so it didn't get a lot of miles on it, and what miles it did get were under cooler temperatures. And now I live down south, and I've noticed my temperature gauge coming up into a hotter zone that I don't normally see. So we're going to do this oil mod, and then there's also a not going to do it today, but because I don't have the parts yet, but there's a part for the temperature sensor to change when the cooling fans come on, so that they come on earlier to keep the engine cooler. So I'll do that at some point. But this is the main thing, to make sure that that cylinder head, or your camshafts, get the oil that they need. There was a lot of restrictions on the original system, and sometimes like really bad restrictions that caused them to eat the camshafts. So my bike has probably had between being in upstate New York, and probably had a better feed pipe than some of the other ones, because they were hit and miss whether they had good flow or not. So I probably had better feed pipe and just not exposed to as much heat. So it's survived this long, but I want to keep it surviving. So we're going to do this modification. And hold on, I forgot to grab my stool to sit on. Alright. So you want to be super careful with this thing. And I don't know where my safety glasses are, but you do want to wear safety glasses. I have really good eye reflexes, and I don't have an issue with grinding without safety glasses, but you can definitely get things in your eye, and you should wear them. Like I said, I can't find mine, or I would throw them on just for video's sake, but they're here somewhere. My garage is currently in the roughest state it's ever been in. Even with the COVID-19 stuff going on right now, I'm considered essential personnel, so I'm still working my first full-time job. So still haven't got a chance to get any of this stuff done, but let's get started. You want to be really careful not to hit any of your key areas. You don't want to hit your O-rings. If you want to pull those off just to make sure you don't hit them, you can do that. I'm just going to leave them there. I'm pretty confident with this tool. So I'm going to clean up these burrs and clean and make sure that none of the pieces end up inside the tube and all that. So there's 3 holes. One of them is blocked off, and the other 2 are your supply and return. I think there's supply and return. No, it's I'm sorry, it's not supply and return. They're both supply. They both supply. One supplies oil to one cylinder head, one supplies to the other cylinder head, and that's part of how he's keeping the fluid flow and pressure up at the same time. The original pipe was a single pipe, so it one little passage to supply oil to both cylinder heads, and it just wasn't enough. Honda knows a lot about engines, but they made a little mistake there with that one, and I think they've learned from it, but I mean, it happens sometimes. Even the greats like Honda can make a mistake. So I'm going to clean these burrs up, make sure those aluminum pieces don't end up in the oil passages. Yeah, it's as simple as that. It's aluminum, so it grinds down pretty easy. I am going to hit it from this other side. Just looks like there's a couple little pieces still sticking up. getting a little shaky. Alright. Yeah. And I would recommend, run your pinky across it. Make sure there's nothing sharp sticking off anymore. And then thoroughly clean this. It's got to be thoroughly clean. You don't want any of those little particles ending up. And actually it looks like some of them ended up on the O-rings, so I'm going to have to pull the O-rings out and clean them as well. Yeah. So the cleaning's pretty easy. Deburring, pretty easy. It's aluminum, comes off pretty easy. Now I just got to clean this up. I'll probably use some brake cleaner or something. And I forgot to mention the price of this kit is not too awful bad. It was, I think, a little over $100 on eBay, and I think it's fully worth the money. Got some sharper edges where it was cut here, but I don't see anything hanging off that could end up in the engine, so I'm not worried about those. It's a pretty nice part, aside from needing a little bit of cleanup around the holes. And let me pause this and we'll get back to installing it after I've cleaned it. Alright, so this is what we have for the oil feed line for the cylinder head. See, it starts right there. You got a banjo bolt, which is part of the restriction, which is why we're going to cap that off. New bolt comes with a kit to cap that off. And then come over here. See, trying to get my light just right. You can see where it tees off. And this one goes to the rear head. The closest one right here. So we gotta cut that off. And then over there goes to the front head. Which has to be got from, from this side. See right there. Alright. So in the directions, they recommend to take a bunch of parts out of the way. And you could do that. It'll probably make it quite a bit easier on you. But what I'm going to do is since we're just cutting the pipe, we're using the other part, the top part of it, with this kit. So I'm going to cut the pipe down low there and put the hoses on, and it should be good. Just got to cut it off with that little Harbor Freight Dremel guy that I got. And then just make sure everything's clean, that I didn't get any particles inside or burrs up inside. Directions say to scuff up the end of the pipe to make sure the hose sticks properly and all that. So I'll get started. Alright, getting started. Be super careful with these cutoff discs. Definitely wear safety glasses with these. These will fly off and get you in the face. Had it happen. It goes for any of the larger discs as well. They are quite dangerous. The little ones are more fragile, so they're a little more dangerous. Alright, let's get started. I'm not really seeing a good angle to attack this. But I'm just going to be able to get this in there. Might have to cut it at an angle, which isn't the end of the world. Yeah, I might do something different. Alright. When in doubt, sawzall it out. This is looking like much better. option here. Maybe I'll use that on the other side. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. Right here. So, feed pipe's right there. I'm going to flip my blade over. And you want to be super careful with the Sawzall. You don't want to mar up your engine or anything like that. So take it slow. Ta-da! Alright, first feed pipe is cut through. And we don't have any damage. Sweet! Okay, let's get it set up for the other side. Alright, and I have decided Sawzall's probably the way to go on this side too. Let's get at her. Hopefully the camera can see this. I think it's set right. Careful of that. That's why you go slow. I just caught the blade on the pipe and it pushed me out. And we're through. Second pipe. That one had a little bit of oil in it. Now this thing's been sitting, I haven't fired it up in several months, so, well, a couple months. I last fired it up a couple months ago. So that's probably why there wasn't anything in the other tube. But I gotta do an oil change and everything on it. Hopefully the stores will be open so I can go get some oil and a filter. I need to do a different filter. The kit actually suggests a couple different brands. And it's a different size from a Honda, I think a Goldwing 1600 or something like that. So it'll filter plenty. It's just a smaller size so that you can clear your exhaust with the new adapter. So there's a bolt right here, and there's probably a bolt on the other side for the pipe, and then the banjo bolt. And I'll get that feed pipe out of the way. I'll make sure that's all cleaned out right there and scuff it all up, get it ready to put the hoses on. Alright, this part's pretty simple. It actually calls to do this part before, but okay, so you got your O-rings. That is going to go up against the flange of the engine where your oil filter would sit. And then your oil filter, your new one, seals on this flange. So, to make that happen, you don't have to remove anything. We got this adapter, female to male, and it slides perfectly into there. So you just screw this under your old, and you're ready to go. It does say to make sure and clean everything properly, obviously. And, sorry, you can't see any of that. Don't tighten it down quite yet till you got your lines where you want them, because you can clock this. And use it to get your lines where they need to be safe. It looks like my threads might be a little dirty because it didn't spin on all the way. I'm going to get that put in place. Alright, back again. I forgot to mention these bolts for the old pipe, 8mm. They're in there pretty tight. One of them was actually pretty rusty. They go into a coolant jacket, so yes, they need to go back in. I leaked a little bit of coolant out of the one side after I pulled it would be the right hand side when you're sitting on the bike, right hand side. It leaked a little bit of coolant out, but it should seal back up with the pressure back on it with the bolt back in. But be prepared to change those gaskets because you've disturbed them. It's a possibility. Most of you should be alright though. Should seal back up. Yeah, just 8mm. Make sure it's a good one. Mine was a little stretched and it wouldn't grab. Those bolts are pretty tight. One of them was rusted up pretty good because it's in a coolant jacket, and I cleaned it up before I put it back in. As you can see, yeah, you can see that. Right. Oh, got the other light in there. Sorry, I'm trying to get this right here. That pipe was way over here. What I did, I took a 7mm socket, because it fits kind of snug over it, but not too snug, and just used that to push it over in that direction. That way when the hose goes on it, it's not up against this coolant jacket right here and rubbing. It'll slide up on there and see if it's right in between the block right there. The other one looks like it's all right where it's at. You can't tell by the other side, but this side you'll be able to see it. A little bit, as well as I thought you would. Took some emery cloth and went around it like a plumber would, or I think like you're flossing it. Here's the emery cloth. I'm gonna grab that real quick. So you want to run it across like that, like you're flossing the pipe. And it looks different with two hands, I apologize. And then when you do the other side, you have to put one finger on one side of it, another finger on the other side of it, and alternate back and forth. And that puts little scratches in it that'll help the hose bite and hold on. You probably get away without doing that, but that guy who sells the kit recommends it, and I would also. So you need every little bit when you've got a smooth pipe like that to make sure that hose stays on there. You don't want that blowing off when you're rolling down the highway. It's not a good day. Start blowing all your oil all over the ground, all over your boot. I had that happen with my 600R. It was the drain plug came out of it. Yep, that was a bad day. Luckily it was a dry sump system, so that one I was able to, and I was very close to home, so I got it home and then shut it off, and then all the oil poured out of it. Running the lines. So I ran my longest line first, so you want to run down. See if I can get some light up in here. I ran it down from the plate in behind to keep it away from the exhaust. It's behind the frame rail between the engine block right here. Both of them will fit in there. I might put something, a larger piece of hose, wrap around it or something to keep them from rubbing through right there on that engine mount. He does give a piece of a piece to keep the hoses from being up against each other, but there's only one, and he says to put it up here, so I need something else down there to keep them from rubbing on the mount and on the block. So I did the long hose first, ran it all the way over to the other side, and then we got a pretty good amount of access. As you can see, there's a good amount of access. He gives you plenty of hose. So looks like the other pipe will be right about where I want it. So let's get the clamps on and see how she goes. And it's alive! We got that oil line right there, no leaks. There's a reason we put the bracket right here. See that sharp edge on the engine block? Just keep the hose from getting caught on that. And let's make this video quick because I'm running out of gas. I don't have much in it. Okay, that was weird with the camera in my mouth. Hope that video turns out good. I don't think I was holding it straight on, but it seems to be running pretty good right now. I got a little bit of fresh gas in it, but not much, so it's probably about to run out. It's running really good though. Okay, so I did find a teeny tiny little leak. And you can't see it. I can see that clear as day, but the camera angle cannot. Right there, all it is just a little drop coming off, and just make sure that you tighten these fittings. I did not. They're not tight. Make sure they're tight, but remember it's pipe thread. Don't over tight, because you'll just crack the aluminum. But I got those tight and everything should be good. It's running amazing. Just keep on wrenching, guys.